In the year of June 1944, Pacific Ocean, dawn breaks over a U.S. Navy carrier task force steaming off Saipan. From the flat tops, squadrons of Grumman F6F Hellcat fighters roar skyward into the lightening sky. The Hellcat was a new kind of war machine, one that the Japanese Navy quickly learned to fear. Its powerful Pratt and Whitney radial engine, heavy armor, and 6.50 caliber machine guns gave it a lethal edge. In battle, Hellcats outperformed Japan's famed Mitsubishi a 6M0 time and again. By war's end, U.S. Navy and Marine Hellcats had flown over 66,000 combat sorties and claimed roughly 5,163 enemy aircraft shot down at a kill-to-loss ratio of about 19-1. This astonishing superiority, a 13-1 margin against the zero in 1944-45, meant Japanese pilots learned to dread the sight of Hellcats on the horizon. Even in the sky over Japan, the Hellcat proved devastating. From their bases in the Marianas and Pacific Islands, Hellcat squadrons swept the skies and escorted bomber raids relentlessly. New U.S. carrier fighters like the Hellcat and its sister, the F-4U Corsair, dominated the air. Japanese accounts and propaganda noted that a Hellcat, rumor said, was like a wildcat on steroids, the zeros equal only in its audacity. With better training and tactics, American pilots used the Hellcat's strengths to crush the foe. One ace, Captain David McCampbell, logged 34 kills in Hellcats and praised the aircraft as rugged and easy to maintain. By the closing months of the war, Japanese fighter units were a shadow of their former strength. The Zeros and other fighters still flew, but now they faced an aircraft 100 miles per hour, faster in level flight and superior in armor. The Japanese realized too late that no Wildcat could tame these Hellcats soaring overhead. As the war moved to the Pacific Islands, another type of U.S. war machine waited in the shadows, the Sherman tank. By late 1943, U.S. Marines were landing on Japanese-held atolls and bringing M4 Sherman medium tanks ashore in assault waves for the first time. On Tarawa, November 1943, and later on Saipan and Guam, American Shermans proved unexpectedly powerful against Japanese defenses. Their 75mm main guns blasted holes in coral emplacements and concrete pillboxes, and their .30 caliber hull and .50 caliber turret guns mowed down infantry in the open. Marine and Army commanders quickly saw that the Sherman's firepower could crack the toughest beach strongpoints. One historian notes that at Tarawa, the tanks proved instrumental in blowing away the Japanese pillboxes with their 75mm guns and shattering the enemy's defenses. In jungle and urban fighting, Shermans would riddle caves and bunkers with machine gun fire. Japanese infantrymen, accustomed to charging with spears and grenades, had no defenses against these roaring monsters of steel. By the time U.S. forces reached Iwo Jima in early 1945, America had even turned Shermans into flamethrowers. The Marines dubbed these M4A3s with Navy Mark I flamethrowers Ronson tanks, a play on an old cigarette lighter. Mounted with hefty flamethrower equipment, these Sherman Ronsons erupted in fire, turning every Japanese cave and bunker into an inferno. In a famous photograph, a Ronson Sherman breathes flames into a hollowed-out pillbox, literally roasting the enemy inside. On Iwo Jima, 8 Ronson Shermans proved the most valuable weapons systems of the island assault. The Japanese defenders, dug into tunnels and bunkers, now had to face a hellish new specter: American Shermans spewing napalm and fire. Despite these machines, Japan tried desperate countermeasures. Recognizing the threat of Shermans, the Imperial Japanese Army hurried development of new tanks like the Type 3 Chinu and heavier Type 4 Chito in 1944. These were intended as Sherman killers, but only a couple of dozen were built, and none ever reached combat outside Japan. In practice, Japanese tank forces on Pacific Islands remained outmatched. Most of their tanks were outdated light types with thin armor, and Shermans did not even bother with special anti-tank ammunition. High explosive shells often sufficed, since Japanese armor was so thin. For the defenders, the Shermans were a terrifying steel storm rolling through the island. Wherever American tanks led the advance, Japanese soldiers knew the odds had just become much worse. In March 1945, Pacific Theater. Meanwhile, in the skies above the Japanese home islands, the U.S. Army Air Forces unleashed a new fear. From the Marianas, Saipan and Tinian, basing islands, wave after wave of Boeing 29 Superfortress bombers poured across the ocean to rain terror on Japan. These four-engined giants flew higher and farther than any bomber before. At night, they carpet-bombed cities with incendiaries. By mid-1945, Tokyo, Nagoya, and Osaka were ablaze with firestorms. One account after the war found that nearly 70% of Japanese civilians interviewed said they could not endure one more day of the bombing. In effect, Japan had already been brought to its knees by fire from above, delivered from the bomb bays of an armada of Boeing B-29s, long before the atomic bombs fell. The Japanese people and military became terrified of the B-29's night raids. Even ground troops listened for the droning engines, knowing that a sky full of superfortresses meant instant doom. It was more than just cities burning. The same B-29s carried the ultimate shock weapon, the atomic bomb. The Enola Gay and Bockscar, both B-29s, dropped the world's first nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. In that moment, American air power seemed godlike. A single B-29 could annihilate entire cities in one blast. Japanese soldiers, officers, and civilians alike knew that nothing in their arsenal could match that destructive power. In fact, in desperation, some Japanese turned to tradition, reportedly shouting the Buddhist prayer, "Anyone but the sixth," Manyarubu Zarukudan Togun, whenever sirens wailed, begging whatever gods to spare them from the deadly bombers of the U.S. 6th Bomb Group on Tinian. The message was clear. The U.S. war machines of 1944 to 45, the carrier fighters, flying tanks of the sky, and steel beasts on the ground had made the war hopeless to continue. By August 1945, the result was inevitable. On the deck of the USS Missouri, Japanese leaders formally surrendered. Overhead, B-29s thundered as a final reminder of what America's war machines could do. The fear those weapons and machines inspired had accomplished its grim purpose, the defeat of Imperial Japan. The Hellcats, Shermans, and superfortresses of the U.S. had proven invincible in their era, rewriting the rules of warfare and earning the lasting dread of those who faced them.